That night, I left Crescent Shore. I live in Denver now. There's no ocean for hundreds of miles. But last week, I found water dripping from my ceiling, and yesterday I heard tapping at my window. I live on the 15th floor. The bell rings for those who are lost, or those it wants to find.
You are listening to the Fearcast. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill.
When I moved to Crescent Shore, I thought I was just chasing a job. The city had grown around a naval base and a decaying port, its salt-bitten skyline dotted with cranes, antenna towers, and forgotten radar dishes. The locals said Crescent Shore was the place where the sea swallows secrets whole. My name is Jordan Vex, former offshore rig diver. After a layoff and a few years of drifting, I landed a contract with Crescent Shore's Marine Recovery Unit, a division handling submerged accidents, shipwrecks, missing persons, or off-the-books salvage, as my supervisor liked to phrase it. I didn't ask questions, not until the bell rang. We were stationed in a decommissioned submarine hangar built into the coast like a rotting tooth. The air smelled of diesel and salt. My team lead was Davis, old-school Navy diver. He walked with a limp and always seemed half listening to something no one else could hear. That Thursday, we got a call just past 3 a.m. A ship had drifted off the coast. No crew, no log, just floating lights and a silent deck. The Coast Guard towed it halfway back before it slipped anchor and vanished into a deep trench known as Burn Point Hollow. "Ghost ship?" I said, forcing a laugh. "You're diving it." By noon, we were above the hollow. A quiet, green-skinned swell rolled under the barge. The sonar gave back erratic shapes. I slipped into my gear. It was a standard dive, tethered, triple check, full mask, audio uplink. Davis stood over me, but just before I went overboard, he put a hand on my shoulder. "If you hear the bell," he said, "do not follow it." "What bell?" He didn't answer.
Underwater, Crescent Shore loses time. Light bends wrong, the visibility dropped below 6 feet by the 30-meter mark. My guideline trailed behind like a ghost leash. I kept a straight descent until I hit the shelf above the hollow, a sheer drop with nothing below but sonar glitches. And then I heard it. Not through my comms, not in my head. It was real. A bell. Faint, hollow, metallic, not a ship's bell, deeper, like something older, like it had rung for centuries underwater. I radioed back. "Curious. Anyone ringing something topside?" "Negative," Davis said, voice clipped. "Ignore it. Check the wreck and ascend. Copy?" "Copy." But I didn't ascend. Not yet. I found the ship, or part of it. A whole section jutted from the trench edge, broken open like a split rib cage. There were no markings, no propeller. It was modern but unbranded. A cargo ship stripped of identity. I floated closer, my flashlight flickered. Not out, but resisted. The beam fell short like it was being swallowed by the sea. I shined it into the breach. There was a figure, unmoving, suspended, in the corner of the hold. I thought it was a crewman until I realized the suit was wrong. Too long in the arms, fingers webbed. The helmet, if it was a helmet, was cracked porcelain white with no faceplate. And then it turned. Not moved, turned, as if the sea rotated it to face me. The bell rang again, closer this time. I felt my body drifting forward, not swimming, not moving, drifting, like the water itself was pulling me into that wreck, toward the figure with the broken face. Davis's voice shattered through the comms. I jolted, kicked backward, reached for my line, but the line was gone. Not cut, gone. The seabed below me rippled, but there was no current. And then something touched my leg. I looked down. Nothing. But I felt it, cold, deliberate. I hit my emergency ascent. The suit yanked me upward in violent jerks. Pressure screamed in my ears. The bell rang one last time, so loud I could feel it in my teeth. On deck, I tore my mask off, coughing up seawater and adrenaline. "You followed it," Davis said quietly. "No, I didn't," I gasped. "I mean, not really. The line, it was just..." "They always say that." He sat beside me, dripping in silence. "That trench is old, older than Crescent Shore, before maps, before records. They say there's a city down there, something sunken, something that rings for those who've lost something." "What did you lose?" I asked. He didn't answer. Over the next week, I didn't sleep well. My dreams were filled with bells, faint at first, then louder. Sometimes I woke to find seawater on my floor, that my gear was dry, untouched. Once I woke up underwater, at least I thought I did. My window was gone, replaced by thick glass and sea shadows. And behind that glass, a hand, floating, reaching, fingers too long, joints too many. It vanished before I could scream. I tried to quit. Davis wouldn't let me. "You're marked now," he said. "They've heard you." He told me stories of other divers who heard the bell. Some never came back. Some walked into the sea years later, eyes blank, as if returning to something that still called them. I thought he was insane, until I met the third diver. Her name was Alexa Mora. Pale skin, deep auburn hair, small frame, early 30s. She walked into HQ with a limp and a stare that never quite met your eyes. "I followed the bell," she said, like it was a confession. She described the same trench, the same figure, the same pool. I made it out. Barely. "But now I dream of doors," she said. "Underwater doors. They open slow. One day, I think I'll walk through." Then she looked at me. "You felt it too, didn't you?" I nodded. That night, I left Crescent Shore. But the sea doesn't forget. It followed me. It echoes, in showers that smelled like brine, in screens that flickered just before showing a white porcelain face. Sometimes I wake up with sand in my bed, nervous. Sometimes I hear the bell, not always when I'm asleep. Sometimes in elevators, sometimes in silence. I live in Denver now. There's no ocean for hundreds of miles. But last week I found water dripping from my ceiling, and yesterday I heard tapping at my window. I live on the 15th floor. The bell rings for those who are lost, or those it wants to find.
You have reached a checkpoint. To save your progress, click the subscribe button. I hadn't seen another person in 19 days. Vega creaked under the Arctic shelf like a submarine under pressure,
groaning with each shift of ice above. Listening post Vega, a Cold War relic hidden beneath Svalbard, had been dormant since 1991, a ghost station supposedly erased from existence. But then, a signal, a 3-second file containing one word in my voice. Repeat. That's why they sent me, Dr. Lena Hallberg, acoustic intelligence analyst. I descended alone through a hidden shaft, emerging into a corridor flickering with blue emergency light. Everything should have been dead. Instead, I found fresh frost, still working consoles, and a blinking light on a tape deck labeled Receiver A, See Beneath. I pressed play and heard my own voice again. Repeat. But I hadn't said it, not yet. Something watched from the walls, a rust-colored handprint on the infirmary glass, a journal buried in the bunks with a final frantic warning. She walks at 0400. Don't sleep with the lights off. Don't answer your own voice. Then the corridor went dark. Over the next few days, reality unraveled. Consoles changed settings on their own. Tape spilled across the floor. My reflection distorted in the mirror. Mouth agape, screaming silently. Frost spelled unreadable messages I still somehow understood. Every night, my voice whispered from the dark, repeat. I stayed awake however I could, documenting everything, hoping reason would hold. On the 4th day, I found a hatch beneath the comms room, a passage not on any schematic, already unlocked, leading down into the bedrock. The deeper I went, the more unnatural it became. The tunnel pulsed like breathing tissue, humid and warm beneath the ice. Gravity felt wrong, pulling instead of grounding. The sound returned, vibrating inside my skull like a mechanical whale call. I saw impossible visions. Women with my face submerged in black water, faceless figures wearing my coat, walls absorbing them. At the tunnel's end, I found a glowing CRT monitor, unplugged yet alive, showing me in real time, but always 2 seconds ahead. When I reached out, it spoke in my voice. Repeat. Then it changed, playing footage of Elise Mork, the analyst lost here in 1996. She opened her mouth and something pale and jointless emerged. Static. I stumbled back into a mirror that showed a version of myself too wrong, too still, smiling. Behind me, whispering, she remembers. I fled, crawled back through the tunnel, the walls flexed like skin. I blacked out and woke up in the infirmary. The journal lay beside me, with new pages in my handwriting. The last line, the moment you remember writing this, is the moment they've taken you. And I did remember. I ran to the comms, locked the hatch, and sent a final message. Shut down Vega, burn the ice, no rescue. The elevator failed halfway. I climbed out as the entrance collapsed, sealing behind me like it had never been. They found me wandering the shelf, I'm stable now, they say, recovered. But every night at 0400, I hear the whisper, my own voice from the dark. Repeat. And every night I answer, not because I want to, but because I don't remember starting.
You have reached a checkpoint. To save your progress, click the subscribe button.
I wasn't supposed to be there when it surfaced. My name's Theo Mercer. I'm 32. Been working deep sea maintenance for almost a decade now. Mostly remote work, monitoring autonomous submersibles, logging pressure readings, patching cable lines. But every once in a while they send a diver. And for 6 years that diver's been me. The company's called Erebos Maritime. Private contracts, deep water cables, black zone trenches. Places with names that don't show up on any public maps. 3 weeks ago, we were stationed at a point we called Anchor Line 0, 400 miles off the Norwegian coast, suspended above an uncharted trench the sonar called the Shard. The name fit. The cliff wall below us looked like broken glass plunging into ink. No one had been to the bottom, and no one was supposed to. It started with the signal, 2:14 a.m. I was alone in the lower deck observatory, logging thermal drift data, when the station trembled. Barely noticeable, but enough to make my pen roll. Then the sonar blinked, unregistered mass approaching from trench base. That wasn't possible. We've been scanning this section for 6 weeks, nothing but cold and pressure. But the blip was rising, fast. I radioed to the command deck. Hansen, are you seeing this? Static. I checked the feed. Still climbing. 200 meters. 150. Then it stopped. Exactly 100 meters beneath the platform. And just hovered. I suited up. I know, stupid, reckless, but I needed eyes on it. Needed to know if our instruments had glitched. I ran a tether line from the sublock and set a 5-minute descent. As I dropped through the dark, the beam from my chest lamp was swallowed whole. Nothing but black water and the soft plink of sonar. Even with years of diving under my belt, I felt it was a pressure that wasn't just physical. It took me 4 minutes to reach the location, but there was nothing there. No mass, no object, just the abyss. The trench mouth below yawned open like a bottomless jaw. I scanned the area. Still nothing. Then the comms lit up. "Are you alone down there?" The voice wasn't Hansen's, it was mine. I froze. "Who is this?" No response, just the sound of static until I heard breathing. My own breathing mirrored back. I reeled in the tether. My ascent. I couldn't see anything, but I felt it move in the water. The sense that something had shifted, a vibration through the line that didn't come from me. Then my light flickered, and for just a second a shape passed beneath me. Huge, pale, not swimming, gliding, like it had no need to move its limbs. I made it back to the hatch, slammed it shut and stumbled into the decon chamber, soaking and shivering. Back in the observatory, I rewound the sonar feed. And there it was, just before I had cut the line, a faint outline, too long to be a whale. No propulsion, no limbs, just tendrils. Dozens of them, trailing behind like kelp caught in a current. The next day, the platform lost contact with HQ. All communications went dark. Power flickered, flicked off, then roared back, but the light never felt right after that. The fluorescents buzzed louder, the cameras would pan without anyone at the controls, and the ocean started knocking. I'm not kidding, from the starboard side of the station, every few hours. 3 knocks, always 3. Always rhythmic, slow, like something massive was tapping the hull. By day 3, we'd stopped sleeping. That night, Hansen vanished. I found his bunk empty, wetsuit gone. Outer hatch slightly ajar, the cameras showed him sleepwalking into the gear locker. Standing completely still for 7 full minutes, then suiting up, walking into the sublock and descending with no tether. We radioed, searched. Nothing, not even bubbles. Day 4. I saw it. I was doing a pressure sweep around the outer hull.
when my floodlight caught something outside the observation window. At first it looked like a shimmer, a ripple of heat through cold water. Then it pressed closer. A face, but not a human one. No mouth, no eyes, just impressions, suggestions of features. A shimmer skull pressed gently against the glass. It lingered, then smiled, not with a mouth, with expression, with the subtle shift of muscle that didn't exist. It smiled and vanished. I ran to the control room. Nobody believed me. But that night, the tether system auto-deployed. 500 meters of cable dropped into the trench. No one activated it. No one even touched the console. The readout said, "Receiving guests." The knocks got louder. One of the engineers, Saito, lost it around dawn. She locked herself in the maintenance bay and kept screaming. "It's underneath us. It's inside already." When we finally broke in, she was gone. Not a trace, not even wet footprints. But her uniform remained, and it was soaked. I stopped sleeping entirely. I would sit in the mess hall for hours, watching the walls vibrate with the sound of pressure changes that didn't match the currents. Sometimes when it was quiet, I'd hear Hansen's voice on the intercom, but distorted, stretched, like someone who had forgotten how to sound human. 3 days ago, I found a hatch I didn't recognize. Lower levels, below engineering, wasn't on any blueprint, welded shut. But someone or something had carved a symbol into it, a spiral made of hooks. It looked like it had been pressed into the steel from the inside. I had to know. I cut the welds, took an oxylance and burned through. When the hatch opened, a gust of freezing air hit me, and then I heard it singing. Soft, wet, like a lullaby being hummed underwater. The corridor behind the hatch was slick with salt, no lights, just a thin trail of wet footprints leading down. I followed. I know I shouldn't have, but something was calling me, not out loud, not with words. It was like curiosity weaponized. The hallway led to a chamber, wide, circular, unearthly. And in the center a pool of water, impossibly black, perfectly still. Floating above it, a body, face down, pale, hair drifting in slow motion. It was me. I don't remember running. I just remember waking up in the decontamination unit, barefoot, soaked, bruised all over. No one saw me leave. No one believes what I saw. But now, they're all gone. One by one, they walked into the sea. Sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes during breakfast, they'd stand up, smile, and walk out the hatch. And I would hear the door click shut behind them. I'm the only one left now. The lights are dim, the power's failing, and the pool in the lower chamber, it's spreading. Salt water seeps up through the cracks. The steel groans like it's mourning. And I swear, I still hear that song. Every time I close my eyes, it gets louder, calling me, not to dive, but to return. This morning the tether retracted on its own. The winch was soaked with brine and hair. The control panel displayed one message, final offering required. I'm not afraid anymore. I understand now. We took from the sea for too long. Built towers on its back, drilled into its bones, and now it wants what's due. The thing that rose from the trench, it isn't a creature. It's a memory. A memory the sea kept of every sailor, every diver, every soul lost to the deep. It's not hunting us, it's welcoming us back.
You have reached a checkpoint. To save your progress, click the subscribe button.
I run a small rental cabin in northern Vermont. Not much, just a weathered 2-room shack overlooking Echo Lake. No Wi-Fi, no cell service, just trees, silence, and water, so still it sometimes looks like glass. People love to unplug. That's what the listing says. Disconnect to reconnect. But this season's been unusually quiet. 3 cancellations, 2 no-shows, only 1 booking in the last 6 weeks. A solo woman, late 20s, artist type. She left after 1 night. Didn't even ask for a refund. She just left behind a sketchpad. I flipped through it. All the pages were black. Not painted, scribbled in, until the paper store. No patterns, no symbols, just chaos. I didn't think too much of it, not at first. Winter quiets everything out here. You start to crave your own voice, just to hear something. But then, the humming started. Soft at first, like the fridge struggling, then under the floorboards, then in the walls. A pulsing vibration that didn't feel like sound exactly, more like a memory. And then came the reflection, a flicker in the bathroom mirror. Something was moving behind me, though I was alone. I checked every room, nothing, but the hallway light wasn't off. It was swallowed, like the dark had weight, like it wanted to pull me in. That night, I slept on the couch with the TV on. Static kept me company. It was better than silence. The next morning, footprints appeared on the dock. Bare feet, 5 toes, leading from the lake to my porch. No return prints. Then more, smaller ones, lighter. And beside them, faint grooves in the snow, like something being dragged. I started locking everything, doors, windows, crawl space. But the screen door still creaked one night, just once. Then, 3 soft knocks. I didn't answer. I just listened to someone, walked away. No engine, no crunch of snow, only silence. The next day, I noticed something odd with the light. The sun came up, but the shadows stayed too long. They stretched across the floor like they didn't want to leave. That night, the humming came from my chest, like something inside me was vibrating. I drank 2 cups of coffee and sat by the kitchen window, trying not to blink. That's when I saw her, a woman in a soaked white dress, standing just beyond the fire pit, not shivering, not moving. Her arms hung at her sides like they were too heavy to lift. She just stared, then turned and vanished like mist between trees. I packed it immediately. Tried the truck, nothing, completely dead. I called a tow service from the landline, finally got through. Told the guy where I was, he went quiet. Then, confused, "Cabin Echo, we don't service that property." Click. I sat in the dark for hours. No power, no heat, just the tick of the wind against the windows. Sighs. I tried the truck again, still nothing. I stepped outside with my keys, ready to walk the 15 miles to town. I'd done worse. But the snow had changed. It was perfectly smooth, no tracks, no wind streaks, just blankness, like the whole landscape had reset itself. I turned back toward the cabin. That's when I saw the reflection in the truck's side window. Not mine. Her, standing inches behind me, hair soaked, lips parted slightly, and something pale writhing inside her throat. I spun around. Nothing, but the glass fogged from the inside, and a handprint bloomed in the center. I don't remember running. I barely remember unlocking the door. But I remember the sound of the hum turning into a whisper, low and wet. It wasn't in the walls anymore. It was breathing behind me. That night, I lit every candle I had and sat by the cold fireplace. Static poured from the radio, but I couldn't turn it off. Every now and then, the static would break just slightly, like something was trying to form a word. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the doorknob turned, slowly, deliberately, but no one entered. No knock, no voice. I stayed just one night, and I saw her. Not outside, not in the woods, in the mirror. Her hand rose, slow, deliberate, pressing against the glass from the inside, eyes wide, unblinking. And when I blinked, she vanished. But the handprint remained. No matter how hard I scrubbed, it always came back. Then the mirror changed. It stopped showing me my room. It started showing something beneath it, a version of my bedroom where the ceiling dripped and mold crept up the walls, where something black crouched in the corner, breathing, watching, waiting. That mirror wasn't reflecting, it was revealing. I ran the next morning, left everything behind, hiked through snow until I stumbled onto a road crew. I never spoke, never looked back, but that wasn't the end. I've seen her since. Once in a mirror at a friend's house, just a flicker behind my shoulder. Another time in a storefront window, rain streaking down the glass. A pale face beneath the surface, staring. She's still looking, and Cabin Echo is still listed, still drawing people in. Most leave early. Some don't leave reviews, and a few start hearing the humming again, months later. So if you see her just once, she never stops looking back. And now that I've told you this, maybe she's watching you too. Check your mirror, just not for too long.